Tammy, did we answer the question? Oh, here we go. You asked a question earlier, which was, how do you know if it is fear or lack of energy that is holding you back from connecting to your spleen as your authority? Can you elaborate on that and go from there? And then if there's anybody, like, we can call people out to answer that or see who has a response for that.
Well, as a projector, and for many, I don't like saying non-sacral anymore because we all have a sacral. It's just how we use it is different. But anyway, our energy ebbs and flows, right? As a projector, our energy really ebbs and flows. And this is why we're so wise about energy. But sometimes I always question, is this decision because I'm burnt out, or I'm tired and I don't have the energy? Is this a decision of saying no because I have fear of that yes? And so for a lot of people, when they're working with their spleen, there's a lot of questions as to how do I work with my spleen properly? Because the spleen is the fear center, right? It is the center that holds us back a lot of times because we have fear of the past, we have fear of the future, we have fear of our judgments in our mind, we have fear that we're not enough, we have we have so many fears, right? And Karen Curry Parker uses the spleen center as the center of self-actualization. And in order for you to self-actualize, you actually have to move. You have to take a step. You have to do something. You have to feel the fear and do it anyway. And so my always question is, when people are saying no, or when people are questioning their splenic response, is that splenic response keeping you safe out of fear? Is it keeping you safe because you don't have the energy? Is it true? And how do you know?
And how do you know? Sorry, go ahead, Shannon.
Well, I just want to add something to that, because I know the feel the fear and fear it, and do it anyway. And that's a theme that's gone on for a long time. And to a certain extent, there's a lot of truth to that. But there's another aspect of that I think is really my passion, which is recognizing the source of the fear that's keeping you from doing it anyway. Because the spleen holds not just the fear of, oh my God, is there a wolf in the bush? Is my very existence in survival? But there's also the smaller fears, or the tiny fears that together lead up to the fear of death. And what I've learned in my own journey is that if I can recognize the fear, the name of the fear, the point of the fear. So the gatekeeper for me is self-worth. Am I good enough? And if I'm not doing something, it's because I'm afraid that I'm not good enough. And if I can recognize that, then I can work on that, which will enable me to do the thing. But I think sometimes when we tell people, feel the fear and do it anyway, can be a little bit too much, because fear is there for a reason. And we have these stories for protection, right? To keep us from being hurt, from being traumatized in what way. And the spleen holds that energy. And what I love about human design is it gives us some entry points, those gates that are activated, to look at how we're holding that aspect of the energy, and then asking the question, how does this serve me? How does this fear serve me right now? And can I then switch that fear so that I can create the thing I want to create while still honoring the purpose of how I got here in the first place?
Thank you for bringing that up, because you've actually opened up the door to some of the follow-up questions. But I think that's very worthwhile mentioning, because in my line of work, in business, what I like to say is, well, business is probably one of the most radical self-development and self-growth paths a person can take, because you're constantly confronting, the walls of your comfort zone and expanding and, pushing and expanding. And fear is a constant when somebody's trying to build and grow their business. And so how do you differentiate between, oh, this is my intuition telling me this doesn't feel good or this doesn't feel safe, and, oh, I am experiencing fear because this is new territory for me, right? And being able to distinguish between those two, right? Should I, when you turn the corner and suddenly you have this intuitive hit, like, don't walk down that street, right? That might be a little bit more obvious. You're like, okay, I think I'm just going to trust that. I don't know why. I don't know what's around the corner. Maybe something, maybe nothing, right? But I'm just going to follow that and redirect. Versus, I have fear in being visible and stepping out in my business and marketing it, right? And being on display, right? That kind of thing. And it does challenge the comfort zone. So do you have ways of distinguishing between those two, right? At that finer level? Do you have ways to navigate that?
Well, I think for me, it's fine tuning. I know just from my life's journey when I'm stuck, when I'm not moving forward. And business, as you so beautifully point out, is one of the greatest personal growths you can have, because it means taking your authentic self, truly the most authentic you can be, and bring that out into the world and not look like everybody else, because your business is the heart of who you are. And when you take that out into the world, you open the heart of who you are for everyone. And everyone knows social media is just the good news and the bad news, right? But the intuitive sense, our knowing, our visceral body felt sense of the yes or the no, is just a totally different experience from now. And the more we honor it, the more we acknowledge and we say yes, and we say, oh, that's a no, and we trust it, it gets bigger. As Tammy was talking about, it gets more powerful, it gets more defined. And so the knowing becomes more obvious. I know when I'm stuck in my stuff. It's just, it has that soupy, sticky, sluggish feeling to it. Whereas my decision-making process, it's like, whoops, nope, that's the wrong way to go, or that didn't work out. That's super fast. But when we're stuck in our stuff, there's a lot of dialogue attached to it, right? Our spleen is very quick, very yes, very no. But when we're stuck in our story, it's a long, drawn out process. And there's lots of shoulds, and there's lots of yeahs or maybes or what ifs. A lot of those words are attached to it. You automatically know you're no longer in your knowing. Because for a spleen, right? It's yes, it's no.
You got it. A lot more monkey mind.
Yeah.
So, Kai, jump on in.
I think I can say from my experience that as a projector, when I get the invitation and I need to decide, that was for me much easier to go or say quickly, like yes or no. When I had to make a decision for myself where I'm going to go, what is the next step, or there I was often stuck. And I went into the head again and I tried to reason and I think everything to the end and plan everything to the end. And then there comes the perfectionism comes into the game and many other things. And only lately I started to realize, like, it's a quality that I have, yes, but if it takes me away from what I actually want to do or supposed to do, of course, it's a big hurdle. And to and I'm kind of taking the magic out of the life when I'm trying to think everything to the end, because it's anyhow going to be different. But the fear to make something wrong or this I can very well relate to. But more when I'm like kind of in my own responsibility. When I get the invitation, I kind of get the feeling, okay, I'm not alone. Then it's easier for me to say yes or no.
Got it. Yeah. Tammy, do you want to jump in quickly? Because I'm going to be changing the questions a little bit.
So the way that I work with it is this. As a splenic, I'm in the now. So when we're bringing it into business, for instance, yeah, I know that I'm not in my not self where I'm like procrastinating when I'm trying to perfect my sales page, or I'm trying to do everything so perfect. When I get the most traction, I get the most responses, I get the most invitations and recognitions if I just press the button, play, and be my magical self. So sometimes it's the Mel Robbins 5-second rule, like really go through that 5 seconds and then boom, and actually take that action. And then I realized it was me holding myself back. It was my stories. It was my rationalization. And of course, we learn to feel the fear and do it anyway at times when our nervous system is regulated, when we have that comfort within ourselves and that self-trust. But for a lot of the times now, I'm just realizing, take that 5 seconds. Is this, within that 5 seconds, really ground into my body? Is this the correct thing for me? Am I just, telling myself stories and scaring myself? And what happens if you just do it? Like, really, most of the time, it's perfectly fine.
Yes, there are no Tyrannosaurus Rex with short arms running behind us, right in business. So, Brigitte, did you have any comments about that in business and sort of the flip between your splenic authority and, and the whole concept of fear and growth and expansion? It doesn't have to be just business, but definitely I know you use human design in your business.
Yeah, I've been listening to everybody and trying to, because I've never thought about this question before. So I'm trying to make it make sense in my head before I verbalize it. I think when I first heard the question, I was thinking, how do you know what the difference is between having the energy to do the thing and you're getting the message that you don't possibly, or your spleen is working overtime and telling you can't. That's kind of how I heard it. So I was thinking to myself that I wonder if it could be both at the same time, right? Like, yeah, I got stuff to work on in my spleen that's holding me back. I do have some work to do there. And yeah, I'm not in a place where I could actually even, I'm on fumes right now. So even if I wanted to do it, I couldn't do it, right? And I was thinking of people who are burnt out, right? And they definitely, the universe is I don't know, very kind in the sense that it will not give you or present to you anything that you're not able to do your best at and reach your potential at and show up at really well. So if you're getting that, you know what, nothing's going on and I don't have the energy today, it's possible that that's the right answer. Like, just take a pause, right? And then I believe that just from my own experience, that over time and studying human design and understanding, the more you talk about human design, literally the I don't know what it is. It's like the easier and the faster you are able to understand it in yourself, right? So talking about some of the features of my own spleen, I'm like, I totally see the conditioning in that thing, and it doesn't serve me right now. And it definitely is holding me back. I'm not impressed with it, but it's taken me two or 3 years to talk through it and to pay attention to it and to observe it and to reflect on it and to reframe it. No, it took a minute because it was holding me back from showing up and doing things like this. Because the self-criticism was there, all kinds of things were wound up in my own splenic response, right? So that's why I was thinking, I'm not sure I know how to answer this because it's kind of thing. I know that doesn't translate in if you're not watching this, but it's like it can be both, it can be either or, and it really is about experimenting too, and kind of giving yourself time to know the differences.